Hey guys, Andrew Henderson, Nomad Capitalist in Tbilisi, Georgia, spending about a month here. Got a question on the YouTube channel here from somebody who wanted to know how I grade passports. How do I rate a passport? And specifically, how do I rate it as its value as a second passport? And this is important for a number of reasons. I am working on more and more content in this regard. I am traveling around avoiding using the U.S. passport. I'm going to be sharing all the trials and tribulations and benefits and experiences that come with that in the months to come. Now, as many of you know, we put out the Nomad Passport Index a while ago, where we rank every passport from 1 to 199 based on the value of its citizenship. But when it comes to talking about the actual travel document, the passport, what's the value of the passport, there are two different ways that I look at rating those actual passports. One is through a traditional letter grade for visa-free travel, i.e. Sweden or Belgium, which ranked number 1 on the Nomad Passport Index. Those would get A grades. Somewhere like Poland in the EU, they can pretty much go everywhere except for the United States, might be an A-. Croatia in the EU, which loses a few countries, might be a B+. And then you kind of go down from there. But the way the thing is easier, and the way that we've referenced on nomadcapitalist.com, some of you may be familiar with, me talking about my economic citizenship experience, is simply putting them into tiers. And again, this is for visa-free travel only. But very simply, Tier A, Tier B, and Tier C are ways to look at the travel privileges of a passport. And so you've probably heard us reference this on the website. Tier A, I would say, is a passport that can go pretty much anywhere. That's including the US, Canada, UK and Ireland, Australia and New Zealand. Those are 6 countries, the English-speaking countries, that are historically very difficult to get into. I think you're also going to see South Africa become pretty difficult to get into, even for some Western citizens. New Zealand just lost access to South Africa, for example. But the English-speaking countries are notoriously very difficult to get into. For example, even if you can go to the Schengen area in Europe, there's still a special process for the UK and Ireland, which is much more rigorous, i.e. people with a Georgian passport here can go to Schengen in a couple days, but they cannot go to the UK and Ireland, and the process is rather laborious. So that's Tier A. Tier B, I would say the big thing for Tier B is the Schengen area. Obviously, Europe's a place a lot of people want to go to. It is an almost 30-state block, so you get a lot of bang for your visa-free travel buck with Schengen access. And so if your passport has Schengen access, then I would put it in a solid Tier B. Bonus points if you can get into the Balkans. They're historically pretty difficult. That might even be Tier A material. But Tier B, pretty much the determination for me is, can you go to Europe or not? Tier C is everything else. So that's your African passports and a lot of other passports. Tier B is expanding because the Schengen area has started to open up to a lot of other countries in recent years, even as far as Kiribati and Timor-Leste and Venezuela, Colombia, etc. So a lot of countries are increasingly becoming Tier B. There are a few passports that you might think aren't that bad in Tier C, i.e. South Africa. They can't go to Europe. But in general, that's how I look at it: Tier A, Tier B, and Tier C. I mention this because we're going to be talking in the months to come about my experiences on Tier B. I am undergoing a process of avoiding using any Tier A passport to see what it's like. So I'm going to go and apply for visas when necessary, and that's been kind of a fun experience so far. I'm going to have to buy health insurance to go to some of these countries. There's going to be certain requirements that are placed on me for not using a Tier A passport. So we're going to be talking about that in the months to come on Nomad Capitalist. We're gathering a lot of research on that. I'm doing it right now. Again, not traveling on Tier A passport. But this is something you have to keep in mind when it comes to getting a second passport. Which tier are you going to be in? Are you getting Tier A? It's pretty difficult, especially if you want to go somewhere and not have to spend all your time living there and paying lots of taxes. Tier A is tough. Doable. Have helped some people do that, but it is tough. Tier B is where the value really lies, and Tier C is kind of the ones that you might not pay as much attention to unless you're getting economic citizenship in the Comoros. So definitely something worth keeping in mind. Where do you want to be if you're getting a second passport? Not only consider our Nomad Passport Index for the overall value, but to make things a bit more simple, to give you 3 choices. Do you need to be in Tier A? Do you need to be in Tier B? Or do you need to be in Tier C? For me, for most of us who are from the Western world, especially those who plan on keeping their birth citizenship, Tier B is where the value is, it's where the opportunities are. There's lots of great opportunities in Tier B, but you have to make the decision. If you want to learn more about second passports, we put out a lot of content here on YouTube, so subscribe to the channel. Also, nomadcapitalist.com has well over 1,000 articles and all kinds of other stuff on second passports, so make sure you check it all out.